In this video, I'm going to show you a nice barn setup for a crystal factory. Now, this is going to require a little bit of money and probably only something you're going to use until you unlock coke and start your production there. A bunch of you requested that I do a meth factory within the barn, so this video is going to entail all of that. So of course, this is going to make use of the barn, which allows us to have 10 employees. Our 10 employees are going to be 5 chemists and 5 handlers. You don't need any of the others, and you're going to make use of pretty much all of these people here. Now, this is going to be for the maximum, most expensive product that we can fit in here through an 8-stage mixing setup. So you'll see that we have 8 mixing stations roughly in the center here, with each mixing station having a large storage rack directly behind it, as you can tell like this. So you'll see that I have a gap open immediately on the right and the left so that employees can easily walk to their stations along here, and along here. So starting with the first setup, we're going to begin on the right-hand side. You're going to see that we're pretty much going to start off with 6 labs and 6 chemistry stations, pretty much spaced out in the openings. You can place them in the pillars like so. So if you place a lab here, then 2 labs, 1 lab, leave this one open so that employees can walk through this section over here. Then you're going to place 2 labs in the openings along this wall. It's going to make it easy if you start like this to build it this way, with the chemistry stations pretty much on the other side. Just before the pillar over here, you're going to have a large storage rack behind every single chemistry station, because these are going to be stocked with the resources you need for the chemistry station in order to cook the product, which takes 1 acid, 1 phosphorus, and 1 pseudo. In this case, we're using high quality. But depending where you are in the game, you can make the standard quality as well. Now, because the station takes exact quantities of acid, phosphorus, and pseudo, we're actually going to stack the shelf here with only the exact amounts of each other. So you're going to see here we have 2 slots that are filled so that they don't get used for anything else. Essentially, this is going to make your life so much easier when you have to restock this, because all of these are going to go down the exact amount. So this 10 is going to disappear, this 10 is going to disappear, and this 10 is going to disappear, which means you know how to stack this perfectly. So I recommend setting it up like this so that you have 20 acid, 20 phosphorus, 20 pseudo, and then just put 2 items blocking the next 2 slots, because we're going to have handlers refilling these. But essentially, we're going to have the chemistry station placed opposite the lab ovens like so. So these 2 in the back corner. Then there's going to be the 4, and we're pretty much going to leave a space for the pillar over there, a space for the pillar over here. It just looks a little neater this way, in my opinion. It just feels a bit more nice and spacious. You won't be needing that much space in the barn for this setup. So this is going to be where you're going to have your product all cooked, right? So all of the labs, once they're done making the product, they're all going to be delivered to this storage shelf over here, which of course has the 8 blocks, where a handler is going to grab this product and then start with the first mixing station. The mixing station will get its product from here. In this case, it is motor oil. I will show you the recipe we're going to be using in a second, but you'll have the mixing station directly behind the chemistry station with its own storage place. And pretty much you're going to have 4 of them exactly like that. And then you're going to mirror this on the opposite side here so that you have your storage racks lined up with the pillars like so, and then a mixing station in front of them, just 4 of them, so that in total you have 8 mixing stations, which the product will start 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. After here, it will go to the brick press, where it will then be packaged into this storage shelf, which we can go ahead and grab the bricks of. This is going to fill up really slowly because you're honestly going to run out of these very quickly. And because of that, we actually have some extra work for handlers to do to restock these shelves. So first things first, let me go back to the beginning over here. You'll see we have a bunch of storage shelves on my side here. So at the beginning of the barn, when you walk in, you'll see on the left-hand side, I've placed 6 storage racks over here. These are pretty much storage for your acid, phosphorus, and your pseudo pills, so that you can grab them and fill up your chemistry stations, these storage stations behind here. So as these are all running low, you keep these all maintained, and you can use your extra storage over here to do so as you're buying tons of this product. This next shelf over here, just before the pillar, is actually just for our recipe. So in case you don't know the recipe off by heart, which will take some time for you to learn it, the recipe is going to be motor oil, coke, paracetamol, gasoline, horse milk, coke, mega bean, and then the battery. So you're going to do it in that order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for your mixing process stages. This is going to give you a product over here with a ton of effects that is going to have a asking price of $343, which is a very, very good price for an 8-stage mix for crystal. Keeping in mind that the base product is worth $70. And in case you didn't know, you can always change the asking price to like $400 and people will adjust and pay you that extra like $60. People will still buy the stuff. You should go ahead and mix this product first yourself to unlock the recipes, because otherwise it will bug out in the mixing stations if you've not unlocked the recipe just yet. So you're going to have to manually do it at least the first time. You'll then see we have 8 storage shelves that fit between this pillar to this pillar nice and evenly. And this is going to have that exact order of products that we have in the 8 stages. So we're going to have motor oil, Coke, paracetamol, gasoline, horse milk, Coke, mega beans, and batteries. These are going to be used to stock the shelves behind the mixing stations, so that essentially all you need to do is fill up these stations. And then you'll notice that I have a packing station here. This is actually not used for your employees. This is actually for yourself to take bricks off of the shelf and unpackage them in the station, and then use baggies behind there so that you can put them in bags so that you can run around and sell them manually to people buying. All right, so let me go show you how much this is going to cost. Starting with the warehouse, we're going to make our way here to the Oscar NPC, who has the little store that's going to sell pretty much most of the stuff you're going to need. This includes acid and phosphorus. You're going to need 11 beds, 10 for your employees and 1 for you. You're going to need 1 packing station for your own packing. You're then going to need 1 brick press to punch into bricks for your end product. And then you're going to need 8 mixing stations. So go ahead and add 8 mixing stations. You're going to have 6 chemistry stations, and you're going to have 6 lab ovens from here. So in total, with 180 acid, 180 phosphorus, and all of those other products, you can see the pricing here is going to come to roughly $45,600, which you will have to buy in a couple trips. I recommend having the van as a vehicle to pack all the stuff into when you're buying it. In order to get product, you will have to contact Shirley Watts, which you'll go ahead and ask her to meet up, because this is the most ideal, since ordering a dead drop is going to be too slow. You'll then meet up with Shirley in person. You will have to bring your van here since you're going to be buying a ton of this product. In this case, if I load up here 160. For the standard quality, this is going to cost you $12,800. For the higher quality, this is going to cost you $17,600. Making our way to a hardware store to see what we need to purchase here. In this case, we're not going to need a lot of things here. You're only really going to need your large storage racks, and I think you're going to need a ton of them. I didn't count, but like if we say 50, this is going to cost you like $3,000. I mean, it's going to be a very small amount compared to what you're spending on everything else. Also keep in mind, you're going to have to hire your 5 chemists and your 5 handlers, which come at a fee of their own. If we go to the gas mart, you can see what resources we're going to need for our mixing. This is going to be the most tedious part of this entire thing, but it's also going to be the part that makes the most money. So essentially, it takes 160 of each product to fill a storage crate. We're going to be buying double that amount. So for the setup, you're going to want to get 320. So 320 Coke like this, 320 paracetamol, 320 gasoline, 320 motor oil, 320 mega beans, 320 batteries, and 320 horse milk. And then also, because we have Coke twice, we have to add another 320. This means to make 320 products, it's going to cost you $13,440, which is fine because our end product is going to sell for $343, and we can still push this up to $400. But in this case, it being $343, we're going to have 320 of these, which means we can sell our first batch, the first setup, for $109,760. That is how much your first entire use of all your products is going to sell for, which is a very good profit for all of that product. And that's everything you need in order to set this up. I also highly recommend getting these lamps because, man, it makes the aesthetic look really nice. It looks really cool. Never thought I'd say that about a drug factory in my life. And now we need to go ahead and assign the employees. Let's start out with the chemists. So you're going to go ahead and manage a chemist. Make sure they have an assigned bed. And then for this one's first stations, we're pretty much going to give them the workstations over here for these 2 chemistry benches, and then the 2 lab ovens across them. So they're pretty much going to manage these 4 stations right at the beginning. Hit escape. That is their job. The next chemist will go ahead and interact with them. Assign a bed, assign 4 stations. This time we're just going to do the next 4. So starting with the chemistry stations, then the lab ovens, holding shift to select multiples like I did, hit escape, and you can see they're assigned to these 4 over here. And then our final chemist is going to manage the final station. So assign them a bed, assign them stations, and we're going to run to the back right, and we're going to assign them to station, station, lab oven, just like this. Hit escape or enter to be done so that they're working on this whole setup. We're then going to go to our last 2 chemists. So the first one, assign them a bed, assign them a station. This one's going to be working on mixing stations. Now I'm going to try something different here. Normally I would do like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 for the other one. But I'm going to try 1, 2, and then 1, 2. So like basically when one chemist is working here, the other one can already be beginning on this side. Hopefully this makes sense. But we're pretty much going to have these 2 chemists alternate between which mixing station they're working on. So in this case, like so. That's it for them. They can only manage 4. We're going to go to the last chemist over here, assign them a bed, assign them a station, and they're going to do the other mixing station. So they can't do these ones. They're going to do this one, this one, this one, and this one, like so. So pretty much the other 4 that weren't selected. Hit escape or enter to be done, and the chemists are done. Now, before I assign the handlers, I like to assign what the machines do first, because that is integral to understanding what your handlers need to do after that. So starting right at the beginning of our production line over here, we're going to select all of the chemistry stations, like hold shift with the clipboard out and select all of them. With all 6 of them selected, hit the manage key and select the recipe they need to do, which is this, right? So they're going to make this product over here, then hit escape, and then you're going to right click to deselect. And then we're going to start at the beginning, and we have to select each one manually again. So select the first station, hit its destination. So when it's done cooking, it has to send its product to the opposite lab oven, like so. And then we're going to do it with the next chemistry station. Pretty much every single chemistry station makes product for the lab oven that is directly across from it. So like this. So just keep doing this with all of your chemistry stations until you have them assigned. Great, perfect. Now with the lab ovens, these are quite simple. With the clipboard out, you're going to go ahead and select all 6 of the lab ovens. So have all of them selected. So have all 6 of them selected, hit the manage key, hit the destination. All of them are going to be sending their end product to one chest, and that is going to be over here, one storage rack, I mean. So this location is where they're going to be putting their end product, which means that this storage is going to fill very quickly the moment the mixing process is slowed down, or if you run out of resources in any of these shelves. All right, so with our clipboard out, we're going to work on the mixing stations. Now we're actually going to have a handler come out and grab from the shelf to stack the first mixing station. So we just have to interact with the station over here, this very first one, and we're going to keep the threshold in 1 because it doesn't really matter if these will be stacked with 20 every single time as long as the shelf is full. So manage this mixing station. The destination of it is going to be the next one over. Then you're going to hit escape. You're going to manage this one, destination 1 over. Escape, manage, destination 1 over, escape, manage, destination across, and then pretty much like this. So we're just going to follow it and send the product down the line like this. This being the final station is going to be sent straight to the brick press, where the employee who's on the brick press will then take it and pack it into there, because if we manage the brick press with our clipboard out, we can set its destination to here. So as long as we have a handler assigned to the brick press, they will automatically press the product and then stack it on the shelf without taking up one of their routes. And that is pretty much it for all of the machines. Now we have to assign the 5 handlers. So starting with our first handler, we're going to go ahead and grab them. We're not going to add any stations for this one. I'll leave that for the very final one. We're going to add 5 routes though. So they're going to take from here and deliver to here. So starting from here, let's go ahead and have them pack our chemistry station. So they're going to pack this shelf behind this first chemistry station into the chemistry station. And you're going to repeat this for every single one down the line. So select the shelf here and then into the station. And then the one behind this one into the station. One behind this one. Be careful you don't select the one at the back there. Select this one and you're going to select here to chemistry station, like so. So you should see that every single time these are going to be packed into these chemistry stations, with the final station not actually monitored right now. So that means we need to get our next handler, assign them a bed, no stations, and they're going to grab from here. So they're going to do the very final chemistry station storage over here. So that storage and into the chemistry station, like so. And then we'll begin them with their next 4 tasks, which is going to be pretty much the same thing, but for these 4 mixing stations on this side. So they're going to grab the motor oil, putting it into this mixer. Then they're going to grab the Coke from here, put it into this mixer. Then they're going to grab the paracetamol, putting it into this mixer. Then grabbing the gasoline, putting it into this mixer right there. And that is their job done. They're pretty much going to be filling all of that stuff the entire time. Moving on to the next handler, we'll assign them a bed. For their 5 routes, they're pretty much going to do the other mixing side. So they're going to grab the horse milk, put it into this mixer. Then they're going to grab the Coke, put it into this mixer. Then they're going to grab the mega beans, put it into this mixer, and the batteries into this mixer. For their last route, we're actually going to begin having them pack these shelves over here into the ones behind these mixers to keep them full, because these are going to run out very quickly. They only hold 160 of these resources, which means you can only make 160 products before they all run out. We're going to double that by pretty much selecting from the source over here. So you're going to grab the motor oil over here, and then you're going to send them to the motor oil storage over here to make sure that they keep filling up this one. So this essentially means we're going to have 160 here packed up with 160 from there, which means that whenever you want to fill up these storage racks, you just have to fill up these instead. So those are all the routes for this handler. We'll then go to our next handler over here, and we'll assign them pretty much to doing the other ones. So with the next one over from motor oil, they'll be doing the Coke. They'll be taking the Coke to the first storage over here, well, the second one I actually mean. Then they're going to take from the third one, which is paracetamol, stacking it to the paracetamol chest, which is over here. Then they're going to grab from the next one, which I believe is gasoline. So grabbing gasoline and filling up the other gasoline one like there. Then they're going to grab from the horse milk. So grab the horse milk, fill up the horse milk one, which is easy to see from this perspective. Then they're going to grab the Coke over here and fill up the Coke one, right? So that's their job. So we just have to assign the mega beans and the batteries next. So let's go to our final handler, who is pretty much also going to be doing our main packing as well. So we're going to assign them a station and a bed. Their station is going to be the brick press. So they're going to manage this. And then for their 5 routes, we'll go ahead and add like that. They're going to pretty much be taking the product at the beginning here that goes the straight like meth crystal product that goes in here. They're going to grab this and they're going to put it into the first mixing station, right? So that is very important. If you miss this, you're never going to have the mixing process work, because they have to grab product here and put it into here so that it can get mixed to make its way around back to the brick press. This leaves them with 4 more routes available. We're going to go ahead and grab from this location, and they're pretty much going to fill up the mega beans and the batteries. So grab from the mega beans, fill up the mega bean storage, grab from the batteries, and fill the battery storage like so. This leaves you with 2 additional slots. So with this handler selected, we'll use our final 2 routes to pack the final chemistry stations at the back here. So you'll see here right at the very back of our barn, these 2 stations are the furthest to reach. So I'm going to have her use this storage over here to fill the main one over there, and then use this one to fill this one over here. And pretty much this means that you have to fill this one up twice as slowly as these ones over here, which you'll have to fill up constantly, but still they kind of like take a while to finish the 20 products in here before they go through the 10 over here. It does take 8 hours per cook, and that is 8 times 30 before this first shelf ends. And these storage shelves over here pretty much have 20 of each product so that it maintains and keeps these shelves full. Again, you don't want to do the extra 2 slots over here. You don't have to fill them up at least, but you just have to make sure you have equal amounts. Otherwise, it's going to get really annoying to micromanage. All right, so with everything set up, all you need to do now is pay all of your employees by their beds. You're going to go ahead and stack money in all of their beds like so. I like to pay them all a full amount so that I can forget about them and come back in a couple days and pretty much receive the final product that they've all, completed. All right, so let's see the factory in action right now. You can see here the chemists are busy with their stations. They're pretty much cooking all the products. They have products in the lab right now cooking as well, which means once they're done with that, they're going to be stacking this shelf over here that has 40 products. It seems like it's actually moving quick enough into the mixing stations. And because of the setup with the two chemists, you can see they're pretty much mixing here. They're mixing there. They're mixing there. They're pretty much like mixing in most of the stations over here. There is a bit of a bottleneck around the section. You can see here they still got to like press the button. Takes them a little bit of time, but then they go ahead and they start with the next one and then they press the button there. You can see the final one over here is just about to cook. This is the first batch of product that we're waiting for right now. And you'll see the chemist who is in charge of this mixing station will take the end product and deliver it to the brick press, where a handler will come in and press our first brick of 20 product. And here the handler is bricking the product right now. There it's pressed, there's the brick, and she's going to stack it in this shelf right here, where we will come in and grab it. And we got ourselves the product right over here. This is worth 20 of the baggies. If you need to go ahead and sell this individually, you grab a brick, take it to the packaging station, pack it in here, hit the reverse of this button over here. So unpackage like that. You can grab some baggies off the shelf and you can quite simply throw bags here and reverse this button again and pack them so that you can sell them one by one if that's something you are keen on doing, which I do recommend because you make way more money selling these one by one to people who are buying. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Good luck and thank you so much for watching.